Here we All right, 3, 2, 1, here we go. Hello and welcome to the Gonzo Experience. I am David Gonzo Mamano here with another great episode every Wednesday morning of the Gonzo Experience. Today I have a wonderful guest who, if you listen to her, she's going to make you rich. Today on the show, Whitney Alexandra. Whitney, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Very happy to have you. And we met through our mutual friend, Ben Albert. So shout out to Ben. Ben has introduced me to some wonderful guests like yourself. So very happy to have you on the show. We are somewhat neighbors. You are in Toronto, which is about 3 hours away from me here in Rochester. And so I'm going to get up there. I haven't been up there yet since we spoke, but I'm going to get up there and we're going to have coffee and actually meet face to face. But want to have you on the show. I went to when Ben told me about you. I went to your website and I was just blown away. You have one of the best brands I've ever seen. You certainly are owning your authority of helping people increase their money mindset. And if you go to Whitney's website, which is whitneyalexandra.co, right? Not .com, .co. You will see what I mean. I'm just going to throw this out there. She's very beautiful. She's very photogenic. And she has very nice clothes. And so she takes these great pictures that I was joking with her before. And I go, Whitney, I picture you like driving a Mercedes and flying to Paris and living in one of the top penthouses in Toronto. And I mean, her brand is just what she teaches. It's like if you ever went to a gym and you got a personal trainer and he or she was like not muscular and overweight, you're going to be like, wait, you're going to train me? And, with Whitney, and we're going to learn more about what she does. But, essentially it's about, shifting and elevating your mindset to max out the money you can make. She's wearing a t-shirt and ripped up jeans and, driving an old Toyota. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to use her for my money coach. So so go to her website. It's one of the best websites I've seen. So Whitney, congratulations on what you're doing and how you're helping people. What I want to do is take a step back to Whitney, I don't know, maybe 10 plus years ago. Where were you? What were you doing? What were your circumstances to help you become the woman that you are and now helping other people transform their mindset to just max out the revenue they can bring in their company and the money that they can make for themselves.
Awesome. Well, thank you for that very complimentary introduction.
You are welcome.
As I shared, I do not live in the best penthouse in Toronto, but I definitely practice everything that I preach and ask my clients to do the same as well. So if I was to cast my mind back about 10 years ago, I would say I do have one of those stories of everything around you starting to collapse. I had just moved. I'm originally from Saskatchewan, which is a small sort of prairie place in Canada. Great people there. So shout out to Saskatchewan. And I had just moved to Alberta, another prairie place, for a fantastic new job. And so that job was really meant to sort of catapult me to the next level of, where I was going professionally, which was a lot of global brand and strategy and transformation. So a lot of the same skills I use today, but just used in a different way back then. And so suddenly I found myself in a brand new city with no friends. I was injured. All of a sudden, the company was being sold and sort of chopped up for parts. And so in the course of about 6 months, it just felt like my entire world had collapsed. And, and I realized, casting my mind back there, I'm so grateful and thankful for all of the situations that sort of led me to that and starting my own business, and really getting out there, meeting a lot of entrepreneurs, consultants, working with a lot of great companies, starting basically right off the bat, which was a really awesome experience. I did not have sort of that journey of struggle during the first couple of years. I had some really great clients, some really great companies I was working with. So a lot to be thankful for there. But it was a story of collapse and and then the upswing.
Great. So, so what brought you to Toronto? Were you just looking to be in the the biggest city in Canada to do your thing?
Yeah, I was ready for a change. I had some great opportunities with some executives that were based in Toronto. And so that just felt like the next kind of right step for me. Yeah.
Yep. And how long you been there for?
I've been there for 5 years.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah.
So, and what were you doing? What were you doing when you first got to Toronto?
Uh, so doing executive coaching, still working with clients, some entrepreneur, some entrepreneurial clients, a lot of corporate executives, big brand type of projects. Because part of what I do when I'm working with an executive, especially on the corporate side, is we're looking at everything. We're looking at how you run your life, your personal brand, how you show up on stage, on videos, in social media, prepping you for media interviews. So it's the whole gamut of things when it comes to performance coaching. And a lot of those foundational elements actually lead to more money, either in the business, attracting better investors, other opportunities, things like that.
Excellent. And so now you're one of the leaders in the field. Now your website, you say you focus on women, which I love that you have to have a niche. But you said I want to tell the Gonzo family here that you also sneak in some men every now and then, right? So
Yes, yes, yes. So I do have male clients. I've always worked with a mix of both men and women. I think recently, over the last couple of years, I have just really seen what the pandemic has done for female leaders having to take a step back, playing a larger role in the household, things like that. And so I've really just tried to niche in and make sure that my messaging is attracting those women, because I know the men come by referral anyways, but it's really important to me that we focus on female founders as well.
yeah, I think every great business has a primary focus and then has a secondary audience. So I love what you're doing. What do they say? There's riches and niches, right? So you're focusing on women, but a good guy comes along, you're gonna
Yes,
help him as well.
yes, absolutely.
So uh, so that's great. So so then you started focusing on I'm gonna been on your website, of course, and some of the things you say, I mean, are really resonating. Rewire your money mindset to attract wealth. Replace your inner critic with inner champion. Uh,
Yes.
so there's a lot of subconscious crap
Hmm.
going on in our minds that inhibits us from breaking through to our full potential, right? Uh, I had a guy named Gay Hendricks on my podcast a couple months ago who wrote The Big Leap, and it's
Yes.
it's all about breaking through those perceived upper limits, and we all have them. Most people never break through because we have whatever it is, trauma, circumstances, experiences, history, limiting beliefs in our subconscious that are just swirling around in there and stop us from being our best selves. So at some point in your life, you realized that and said, I could really focus my business on helping people, break through their upper limits to maximize their wealth.
Yes.
So would love to hear about how that all came to be.
Awesome. So we haven't talked about this, but that was one of the very first books that I read 10 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like talk about synchronicity and full circle moments there.
Yeah.
But it's so true. You have 95% of decisions being made right now by your subconscious mind, and you have no control over them until now. Um, so going through that process of rewiring your mindset and really taking the opportunity to identify and understand some of the beliefs that you have that are holding you back. And so when you look at work like Gay has done and work like I'm doing in my business, it is about reprogramming your subconscious mind to really get what it is that you say you want. And so I see this a lot of times. Actually, I just had a great Instagram post about this yesterday. I always ask people, how much money do you desire to make? And the answers are just so wild when they come back, because it could be everything from, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have a clue. This is how much I need to pay my bills. And there's a whole gamut of responses. But if you really break down what I ask is, how much do you desire? And when you really start to get to the root of desire and wealth, and a lot of it ties back to worth. What do you feel like you are deserving of? And so those are a lot of the experiences, old stories, and beliefs that we break down in our work together, to help get you to the next level.
Yeah. What is the common, is there a common theme of what is hindering people from breaking through to achieve great wealth?
There are always old money stories. There are always old money beliefs that aren't yours. So the next time you find yourself going to make a purchase, or having a reaction to a price, or something, maybe something that you've always done a particular way, like you take something, you cut it in half, and it's sort of become a habit. You have learned that from somewhere. It's probably not your belief. It's probably not your own experience. It's just something that you started doing. So, if I pick on myself for a minute, I grew up in Saskatchewan. There are beliefs that you work hard to make money, and that doesn't need to be the case, or, at least as hard as you need to work. You don't need to always go to the extreme. But you would be surprised when you start to think about the beliefs that you have or others have around money, what comes up. And so one of the first things that I offer to people is just interrogating that belief. Where has it come from? Why do I feel this way? Is it true to me? Was it true at a time and it's not true anymore? You see that with a lot of people as they go through their stories, a story of struggle with money. Maybe the family didn't have much money growing up, and now they're in a position where they have an abundance that's available to them, but they still feel that lack of a money mindset. Um, so there's so many stories, but they all root back to usually other people and things that happened a very long time ago.
What about people that, I know a lot of people, and sometimes I'm included in this as well, people that just don't handle money well. Like they can make it, but then they spend it.
Yeah.
And therefore they're always struggling. Even if they make money, they're still struggling with keeping it.
hmm So usually that boils down to that deserving the worth that's attached to it. Sometimes it's an issue of how the money is made. It's uncomfortable to live a new life. And so if someone has a story around money and struggle, or life and struggle, that is a story they have to be prepared to give up. It's writing a new story for your future. It's writing a new story with the way that you handle money. Um, and all change, even though we would mostly look at this and think this is a really positive change. Why would someone be struggling with this? But it is such a big change that's why you continue to see some of these loops. It's comfortable to stay where you are, even though you would fully recognize, I don't want to be here. And that's, where your conscious mind and your subconscious mind really play at odds, because your subconscious is saying, again, making 95% of decisions and saying, we're comfortable here, don't make any big changes. And the little 5%, that is saying, but I really want to get out of this cycle, or I'm ready to make more money, or I'm ready to take my business to the next level. So you can imagine, like, the odds are not in your favor. And so, a lot of the work that we do together is reprogramming that subconscious mind so that you have the power of 95% that's working towards the goal that you say you really want. And so that's, we're basically harnessing the power of both and pointing them in the same direction rather than having them be at odds.
Yeah, you mentioned the people's comfort zone, and I have a friend that says a lot of people's comfort zone are really not that comfortable. right?
Yeah,
But they're just scared to go to another zone that they're not familiar with, right?
that's right.
What's the saying? The devil that you don't know or the devil that you know, and and so even though some people are miserable in their quote unquote comfort zone, they know it, they're
Mhm.
familiar with it, and they're dealing with it, but they're not comfortable. And but a lot of
No.
times what they need to realize, if they can break through that, there is a great life beyond that zone that actually could be a little bit more joyous, we'll say, instead of comfortable, right?
Absolutely. It's so true. And I see this with clients where they've been stuck and are ready for, let's say it's not one level of growth. They've maybe been stuck for a while and they're ready to kind of supercharge the growth. So we're talking about rapid transformation. And typically when someone is going through that much change, you'll get people in your life that have known you as a particular version saying, "Oh, David, you've really changed. I'm not sure if this is like the right path for you. I'm not sure about this." And so
Right.
what you start to see is relationships around you starting to fall away. And that's actually a really positive sign, even though it causes people a lot of distress.
Mhm.
Um, but I see it often with clients where, they start to grow and people around them maybe aren't uncomfortable. It makes them feel a certain way about themselves. Um, but I can tell you on the other side of that growth, you will find more people that are like you, growth minded, doing amazing things,
Yeah.
just like you are.
Well, thank you. You too.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have to shed unfortunately some friends and family to some extent sometimes to go to that next level. Darren Hardy, who's a friend of mine, I've been to many of his conferences. He talks about this story. Did we talk about this? I can't remember, about the crabs that I don't know.
Mhm.
Did we talk about that before?
Yeah.
I want to let
Yeah.
the Gonzo family. I might have mentioned this story before, but I love it. But there's a type of crab that, when the fisherman brings down the cage and there's a little bait in there, and one crab will go in and two crabs will go in and eat the bait. And then all of a sudden, all these other crabs will come in because they're like, "What's going on? What's going on? Is there food in here?" And then the first one or two crabs realize that the bait's gone. They've eaten it, and they're trying to get out of the cage, and the other crabs won't let them. They pull them back in to all of their ultimate death. And I think that's a good metaphor, for people that sometimes when someone in your group tries to become a better person, going to the Tony Robbins seminars, taking coaching and consulting, from the great Whitney Alexandra, et cetera. A lot of people don't, they're like, wait, you're like you said, you're not one of us anymore. Who are you? You're changing, and it makes them feel uncomfortable. So they're going to try to pull you back. And it's tough. It's very tough, but sometimes you have to evolve into new relationships to be your best self. I totally agree.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because imagine if that one crab got out and showed the other crabs in this story, showed the other crabs what was possible,
Yeah.
right? They could all be free. So it's a great story. I love that you shared that.
Yeah, yeah, thanks. So listen, there's a lot of talk about manifesting,
Mhm.
and I think manifesting is wonderful. Some people are like, you can't just think about something and it's going to show up, right? You just can't think about a Ferrari and like 2 weeks later, the universe and God is going to deliver a Ferrari, right?
Yeah.
So and so what I say to those people are, manifesting is step one. You know, doing the work is step two, right? I think it's a 1-2 punch, right? And
Yes.
so tell us about how you help people. I know you talk about visualizing and manifesting, and even on your website, which I downloaded, you have a great recording to listen to, which begins to retrain your brain. How do you do that? How do you rewire somebody's self-conscious to just start thinking and acting differently for success?
Okay, so I want to answer the first question because I think that is really important what you touched on with manifesting, because I couldn't agree with you more. It's not about just thinking good thoughts and then sitting here and waiting for it to happen,
Where's
you
my
know?
Ferrari? I thought about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. Where is that Ferrari? And so, you bring up a great point, because I think when people think about, thinking better thoughts, it's not just putting it out there, it's actually acting differently. And so this is where it's one plan. You have a strategy, you're manifesting, and everything is going in one direction, but you're also taking action. And so that's really where I think performance coaching comes into place, where you have a consistent coach that's working with you, making sure that we continue moving in that same direction. But it is all meant to be in alignment. Yes.
Yep. Yep. I agree. People have the vision boards, which I think are great. I mean, you become what you think about. If I see a Ferrari every day, or I see, a beautiful villa, in the Italian coast,
Yeah.
I'm going to start, like, hopefully start figuring out, like, okay, well, I do want that. Like, what do I need to do to get there? What are the actions I need to do to be able to get there? Right. So.
Absolutely. So I think when it comes to training your brain, it is about thinking better thoughts. It's about shutting down old beliefs that you have. So it's almost like walking through life and questioning decisions that you're making, the thoughts that come in. I love that you referenced the one line that I'm just such a fan of. It's turning the inner critic into an inner champion, right? And so it's shutting down. We all have mean things that we say to ourselves, and they're usually not true. Or there's a teeny tiny fraction of a root somewhere in an old story. And so we've just attached so closely to whatever that belief is. And so I think a lot of it comes in interrogating where those beliefs come from and choosing to think a better thought. And I'll tell you, it doesn't always happen overnight, because it is a process. So some of it is sort of batting down those old thoughts and ideas when they come up, telling them they're not true. Some people say, give that voice a name. So usually it's somebody you don't like. Give that person a name and tell them, that's not true, shut up, whatever you want to say, to get that line out of your head from being on repeat. This is where I think the subconscious recordings that I do with my clients, and the one that you downloaded as well, they help to reprogram your mind so that you start to think differently, so that you believe something's possible. It's even starting with a phrase of I am or I have, instead of someday I might, you know? And so there's so much more power in believing that you already have the thing that you say you want. So it is about visualizing. It's also about, getting to that feeling of already believing you've received it.
Yeah. Now, and I think it's so important to, I think it comes back to what you said at the beginning, self-worth. Am I worthy of this? And that's why so many people, when they win the lottery, 5 years later, they're broke again, because their subconscious mind doesn't feel like they, are the person to deserve that money.
Yes,
Uh,
it's not safe, right? That's one of the big beliefs that I hear from clients. It's not safe to make more money. And it's typically because there is that shell of, comfort and other things like that.
yeah, very good. So what are some things? I always love to leave the Gonzo family with some nuggets that they can say, oh my God, that was a great podcast. And here are, 1, 2, 3 things that I can do, like, right now, to get, begin the path of whatever my guest is teaching. So if you were to say, all right, Gonzo family, you know what, you want to have more wealth and more and feel worthy to have that wealth, and keep it. What are some things that people can do today?
So what I would love people to do is take a blank page of paper, and I want you to write down all of the beliefs that you have about money, the beliefs that you have about people who have money, and write all of those pieces down. And then what you can actually do is, like I said, interrogate each one of those. It might be a positive belief, it might be a negative belief, it might be, an old money story or a habit that you have. But get all of that down on a page and you can start to understand, okay, where did this one come from? Who have I heard say this? Why do I still believe this to be true? So you can actually go through each of those, and I believe that will be a bit of a mind-blowing exercise for many. And then you're simply choosing a better thought. So typically what I have clients do is, on one side of the paper, you've got all these ugly things that you say or believe. And on the other side of the paper, what would it look like to reframe that belief so that it's 100% positive? So if you feel like you're always broke, you're not going to write down, I don't feel like I'm always broke, because that is a negative. I know we framed it a little bit more positively, but that's still a negative belief. So you're going to say something like, I have more than enough money um, for everything I desire, or something like that. So it's learning then that when those old stories and beliefs come up, that you've already got something to reframe it with. And you'll soon find you've got, maybe 4 or 5 that are taking center stage. And now you've got 4 or 5 beliefs that you can deconstruct and reprogram your own mind to think a little differently.
I love that. Yeah, definitely don't put a negative word in there,
Yes.
right? Like, what about something like setting a deadline? Like, where are we? We're 2023, we'll say. Uh, so 5 years to 2028. What if I was to say something like, and write this down and say it to myself every day? Uh, I have a net worth of $100 million by December 31st, 2028. Is that a good one?
No.
No.
Well, okay, let me ask you. So would you be happy if on December, I don't know, 15th of that same year, you received the whole shebang, and every year until then you received, I don't know, $100?
No.
No. And this is part of the problem, is like sometimes we reframe something so big that if the universe was going to deliver, it's like, David, I've got you. 2028, that's what I'm going to give it to you. But you would still be in struggle for years. And that's not what we want. So actually what we want to do, what I like to do, is put a much shorter time frame on things so that you have something weekly or monthly. Monthly, I love, because it still feels like the months are spacious enough. It doesn't feel like you started on Monday and whoops, it's Thursday and I forgot to do, the things I need to. So I love more of a monthly goal. And sure, we've always got our eyes on that long-term plan, but with a monthly goal, it gives you something a little bit, first of all, it probably gives you a smaller goal that will feel a lot more attainable, and it will show you the positive proof points and positive increase over time as well. Because I think that is a part of it, is you've got to show yourself that you're capable of doing these things, that you're
Yeah.
capable of earning, that you're capable of hitting those milestones. And I'm a runner, so what I like to say is, if you can run 5 miles, you can run 6. If you can run 6, you can probably run 10. If you can run 10, you can probably do a half marathon, right? And it's about stretching as you go through as well.
Yeah, I really, really like that. And I have done 2 half marathons, and you're right. I mean, you train for half marathon where you're going to do 3 miles, take a break, 3 miles, take a break. Next week you're going to do 4 miles, 5 miles, etc. And
Yes.
you're going to, if I try to run the whole 13 miles in week 2, I would die. Right. So
Yes. Well, it's not just that. You would not believe that you could do it. So the odds are you would quit before you got there.
right, right.
And that's not what we want. What we want is to show your mind that A, you're capable of doing hard things,
Yeah,
and B, you've done it before. You can do a bit more.
yeah,
Sure, you can make this happen. We've seen it. So
yep,
it's also about reflecting back and seeing, the positive things that you've done in to advance this goal as well.
yep. That is terrific. I really learned something. Thank you very much. Because I was going to get off this interview, and I was gonna have my goal be, $100 million in 5 years. And but I would much rather be making, starting, next year, how about $50,000 a month, and then build it from there, right? So
Well, and it's not to say that you can't still have the end goal be that, large sum. What I'm suggesting is let's break it down into some more bite-sized pieces so
yeah,
that, so that it feels like something attainable and you can see some progress. Because you might find out you're actually capable of 10 times more,
yeah,
right? That's typically what we see is we tend to discount ourselves in the amount that we're capable of either doing or earning. We discount we discount the path. So we could move a lot faster. And, I had one client that said, okay, this is my goal for, 5 years from now. And I thought, I think we can do this in 6 months. This is not a big goal, but it
yeah,
takes that outside perspective sometimes to say, okay, you were able to do this. So with a little bit of support, we can get you here much faster.
yep. I love it. My God, I can talk to you for hours. This is super, super, super fantastic. I'm loving it. I think you need to just get your message out to the world as much as you can. It's so needed, right? And
Thank you.
and to be able to take somebody who, for some reason feels that they will never make a lot of money, which is once again talking about self-worth or lack thereof, and be able to transform them into making six figures and beyond. How gratifying,
Yes.
right? To, listen, they say money isn't everything, but it sure is a great base to have everything else happen that you want in your life. You want to help more people. You want to get in better shape. You want to eat better. You want to travel more. You want to, give more to charities. The more money you make, the more people you can help, including yourself. That's what I always say. So
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's like I'm such a believer that how you do one thing is how you do everything. And so when it comes to your beliefs around money, you probably have similar beliefs when it comes to health and lifestyle and relationships and things like that. So you can absolutely use the same type of process for all areas of your life.
Yep, I love it. And thank you for saying process. I wanted to hear some good Canadian words
Yeah.
today.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. There's another one. I love our Canadian friends. The slight little, accents with some words or different pronunciations is beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for
Yep,
letting me represent Canada today.
you're repping very well. I appreciate it. And true to form, you have been a very, friendly person. And another thing I always say is I have never met a mean Canadian. You guys are all just so damn friendly, and I love
Yes.
it.
That's
You know,
us.
maybe you get off the phone with us Americans and oh my God, those crazy Americans. But when you're talking to us, you're very nice. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Whitney, if people want to reach out to you and connect and learn more, what are the best ways?
The best way is to go on my website. It's whitneyalexandra.co. That's CO. Yes.
.co.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you for that. And you'll talk to everybody, kind of a free consultation type of thing.
absolutely. So
Excellent.
what I like to do is schedule a breakthrough session. So we sort of get to the root and the cause and the reason for why you're there and how we might work together.
Excellent. I love it. And Gonzo family, as always, if you want a personal connection to Whitney, throw me an email, david@davidmamano.com, and I'll do a personal connection. Whitney, thank you so much. I really appreciate you sharing some heartbeats with us today. And as always, I'm wishing you continued massive success.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to meet in 2023. I'm coming to Toronto. I got so many people to see there,
Yay.
and you are on the list.
Awesome. Can't wait.
Excellent. And Gonzo family, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Gonzo Experience. We've been doing an episode every Wednesday morning for over 6 years and cannot do it without your support with listening and sharing and liking and all that great stuff. So thanks for being there for us. And, and as I always say, I want you guys to all have a great day and make sure to stay awesome.